I've said it on this show. I've said it on my pod. I've said it everywhere. Every radio spot I've done. Look, man, I mean, those two guys on the left side of that line are going to determine for me how far this team goes.
It's that football show here on KC Sports Hour. Tucker Franklin, as always, hanging out with Matt Verderame on a beautiful Wednesday morning when we're recording this show. Thank you to our partners, Ben Holiday Bottled and Bond Bourbon and Holiday Distillery. Whatever your choice of drink is, they got it for you at Holiday Distillery. We like the bourbon over here at that football show, so that's what we choose to talk about a lot of the times here. But please drink responsibly when you are enjoying those Holiday Distillery products. Matt, been a minute since we talked. A lot of our power rankings last week got some buzz. I tell you what, I think that's the most responses I've gotten about our power rankings we've done yet. People were buzzed with the power rankings from last week.
I think that's fair. We took shots at. I don't think we had any crossover, right? So
no, we didn't.
So we took shots at 20% of the union. And I got to tell you, my only regret, I feel like it wasn't enough. I feel like there could have been more. There could have been more. We could have gone 10 deep on each of these states. What a disaster they are.
Yeah. So I think my only regret when I see people responding is Ohio. I've been to Ohio. I didn't put Ohio on there. I think that I probably could have flipped them out for Arkansas and been okay. And with that list. But then I quickly realized, Matt, I think Maggie Johnson pointed this out, who I host the Mizzou podcast with. All of the states that I picked are like directly around Missouri and all the institutions I do not like. So like, I wonder if that seeped into it. I wasn't really necessarily, I mean, if you go back and listen to my reasoning behind the picks, it wasn't because of the schools. I think it might have been a subconscious thing, but who knows?
Well, you know what? I mean, listen, every single one of us have to have, a reason for our hatred in life. People always love to say, hey, you shouldn't hate. You shouldn't hate. I disagree. Hate's a healthy thing sometimes. So you got to have that hate. You got to have that hate in your heart. And I have it for Iowa. So, look, you know what? It's better than hating a family member, although God knows there are some of those people I can't stand it. That's for your next power ranking.
Should not. I'm putting the Knicks on that one. We're not going to power rank our least favorite family member.
I'm down. I mean, we may have to expand that, though. My mother's side of the family's got a lot of people. Okay? I'm more than happy to get into this.
I'm trying to find a response here that we got about somebody who actually lived in the county that we were talking about in Iowa. And he was like, look, to be fair, I get it. That's what he was basically like. I live in Iowa. I live in that county. It should be two counties. But look, I understand the hate. There's nothing in the northern part of the county, but like, I get it. I understand the hate. So I appreciate everyone responding to our power rankings as well. It was a good time. I did enjoy that one. I believe it's my turn to pick what power rankings we want to do.
Yep.
For this week. So I'll have it for us when we record on Friday for our Saturday show. But today, a question that I think a lot of people are asking about the 2025 Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
Are they better than the 2024 Kansas City Chiefs? We're going to go position by position on each side of the ball and just kind of talk about it. Personnel-wise, maybe schematic-wise, what we think about this as well. Also, there's been more developments in the quarterback market as Russell Wilson is now a New York Giant with Jameis Winston and Tommy DeVito. What a quarterback room that they have going on in New York.
We were excited about the Chiefs quarterback room. Doesn't hold a candle to that.
It doesn't. It really doesn't.
I mean, that's going to be something when those guys hit the club, in New York, those three. Tommy DeVito just, wrapping himself in the Italian flag, living the dream. I can appreciate it, Italian myself. And then you get Jameis just eating W's at the club. Yeah. And Russell, I feel like not even going into the club, just outside. Like they won't even let him in. Just outside the club, just doing high knees, just in case he gets in.
Wearing furs, Maybe having a glass of vino with him.
I feel like he's a big Zima guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real big Zima guy. Yeah, that is one hell of a room. I look forward to the first time the Giants can beat by 50 points, and Russ goes out there and whatever their version of Broncos country is. I have no idea what it even is. What are they? Giants? What? Big Blue Nation? Is that it? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's like Kentucky, though. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'll do some research.
what the hell? It doesn't matter. Yeah, but like when he goes out there and he's like, "Hey, Giants fans, let's ride," like whatever. Again, the equivalent to that. That'll be fun. That'll be fun. I look forward to the tabloids just screaming at him. But you know what? I got to be honest. I actually, to the Giants' credit, I think it's a better signing than if they'd signed Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, probably.
Because look, if you sign Rodgers, Rodgers is better than Russell Wilson. But if you sign him, you're maybe going to win 6-7 games at most. And you're not good. But now you're better than you are with Russ. Russ is going to win you 4 games. I think for the Giants, it's a better position to be in. Now, either position sucks. Don't get me wrong. You're not happy to be in either position.
Right.
But if you said to me, would you rather win 4 games or 7 games, even though the season sucks more? 4. You're in a better position. And it's not like you're winning 7 with an up-and-coming quarterback. That would be the obvious choice. If Tennessee takes Cam Ward and wins 7 games, they're thrilled.
Yeah.
You're talking about a quarterback who's in the twilight of his career either way. I'd rather just be bad and have a shot at the next quarterback in 2026. I actually think that makes more sense than signing Aaron Rodgers. And what? You're going to win 2 more games, and give up 8 spots in the draft or whatever? I think I'd rather have Russell Wilson, although, again, I'd rather just have neither one of them because both of them are not good at this point.
Yeah, it is really interesting because I know that the Giants have had interest in Shedeur Sanders. I don't know if this signing necessarily takes them out of the Shedeur Sanders sweepstakes. Try to say that 5 times fast. I don't think it should. I don't think that them signing Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson should disqualify them or their front office from thinking that they should also draft Shedeur Sanders, right? It's probably a good idea for rookie quarterbacks not to play right away. That's probably a good line of thinking, I think. But who knows if that's going to take them out of it? I don't necessarily think it should, but there's still a lot of things to play out with the Giants. And it looks like that the Giants use the hashtag Gmin.
This is why they're not good. You can't get a hashtag. Come on.
That's, yeah. I don't like that.
No, that's terrible.
Back with the big blue is what they tweeted out for a re-signing. Yeah, I mean, they could do better with their branding.
Yeah, you're the New York Giants. Come on.
That's fair. All right, let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs, though. As free agency is practically over. We're basically all waiting for the draft, especially with the Charles Omenihu re-signing now in the books. Matt, we got to talk about that a little bit on Saturday's show.
Yep.
Now that that's in the books and Mike Pennell's back, that happened on Monday. The team account broke that. I thought that was hilarious, by the way. You don't see team account
running down the wall. It's don't let Rappaport get it.
You don't see that all anymore. You usually the agent. Sometimes the agents will tweet them out. We talked about this a few shows ago. Agents will tweet them out sometimes. It's usually the big reporters, but the team account, that rarely happens. And I really did appreciate that from Mike Pennell signing. The Kansas City Chiefs were oh yeah, per us.
Yeah.
Mike Pennell's back.
Yeah. I'm a big fan. I think anytime, I want a team to do that with a massive contract one of these days and just watch people's head explode, right? That'd be good. But listen, I mean, Mike Pennell coming back, that's fine. He'll be a rotational guy with Jerry Tillery, and so they still need a starting D tackle next to Chris Jones. They still have to replace Sean Wharton, but yeah, I mean, I have no problem. If you said to me, would you rather have back at this point Pennell or Nadi? I would have said Pennell. I think Mike Pinnell's just a better player than Derek Nottie. I know he's older. I understand all that. But yes, I would rather have Pinnell at this point. And by the way, Mike Pinnell, like kind of quietly, one of the better run stuffers on the interior. He's going to be 34 next season starts. Last year, he played 30% of the snaps for the Chiefs, which is, I expect, about what he's going to play this year.
Right.
Last year, in case you're wondering, Nottie played 20%. So Pinnell played a lot more. And so I like it. I like it. I think that's fun. And I also think Nottie and Pinnell are redundant. I like Tillery's a different type of player. So he's more of a get up the field type of guy. So I like that. I like what they did. I think it's a good move. And now, it's just one less hole you have going to the draft. I would expect they're pretty much done. I mean, I would think at this point, they're probably done in free agency. I mean, maybe there's some tiny little 90-man roster type stuff, but in terms of a guy who's going to see any real meaningful snaps, they're probably done in free agency.
Yeah. That's why I think now is a good time to do this exercise where we're going to go position by position on the Chiefs roster compared to where they were. Now this is I'm on the RLads website because I think they do the best job of depth charts and archiving depth charts as well. I have the April 1st depth chart up. That is less than a week away, right? April 1st is. So a pretty similar spot to where the Chiefs were a year ago to where they were now. I want to go position by position and discuss, do we think that the wide receiver room is better? Do we think that the defensive line room is better? Do we think the safety? You get the point. But we're going to go position by position and overall talk about it. And Matt, I think I want to start with wide receiver. Let's start at the wide receiver position. When you're looking at what the Chiefs have on the roster today, they got Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, Sky Moore, Justin Ross, Tyquan Thornton, Jason Brown-Lee, Nico Remigio, Juju Smith-Schuster, Rashee Rice. Last year, they had Justin Watson, Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney. This is going to be interesting because this is before the draft class last year. Montrell Washington, Justin Ross, Cornell Powell, Nico Remigio.
This year's better. Yeah, Xavier Worthy on this team now. And, look, even if you want to look at it from the perspective of, even if you want to include Worthy from last year, I mean, this is better from the standpoint that Worthy's now entering his second year. The big question is Rice. Is just the availability. Is he going to start the season suspended? Is he not? How does he come back from that knee? But, I mean, if Rashee Rice comes back as the same player, they're better receiver. I mean, there's no question. And I still think they could draft a receiver. I still think that there's an opportunity. Maybe not early, but, although who knows if the guy fell. Yeah. But, I think they're better. I think they're pretty clearly better.
I would agree with that, too, especially with the Xavier Worthy edition. I do think it makes sense to do this, obviously, pre-draft from last year because the Chiefs haven't had their draft this year, right?
Of course.
So, when you look at their first three of Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, that's a much stronger top three than Hollywood Brown, Justin Watson, and Rashee Rice. That is a very much stronger top three, starting three wide receivers, if you want to put it in air quotes there, than what they had last year. Let's talk about quarterback because I want to save offensive line for the last little bit here because I think that there's an interesting conversation to be had there. Quarterback room this year obviously is Patrick Mahomes, Gardner Minshew, Bailey Zappi, Chris Olodikin. Last year, I remember being pretty high on this quarterback room, Matt, when they had Patrick Mahomes. I guess they didn't sign Carson Wentz yet, but they had Chris Olodikin and Ian Book. Obviously, the let's add the addition of Carson Wentz in here. Do you think that Gardner Minshew is better than Carson Wentz? I guess is what I'm asking.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I said when they signed him, I think it'd be a pretty good case the best quarterback is a backup in the NFL. I mean, if not, he's in the top three. Yeah, I would rather have Gardner Minshew than Carson Wentz. I also, just for the hilarity of Gardner Minshew, would rather have Gardner Minshew than Carson Wentz. Wentz was a solid backup, was probably the best backup they had in terms of just raw talent behind Mahomes in his career.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Minshew's a better player at this point. If they had to play Gardner Minshew for a couple of games, they could probably win those games. I mean, depending on who they're playing. With Wentz, I mean, I'm not going to judge the guy off that Denver game. Nobody didn't care,
right.
But yeah, I think I think, look, if Mahomes is out for any real length of time, you're screwed anyway. But yeah, if you said to me who would I rather have, I'd rather have Minshew.
I think it makes sense. I do think I remember when Carson Wentz was signed, we were just like, "Wow, this is probably the best backup quarterback the Chiefs have had in the Patrick Mahomes era."
Yeah.
And then he played a game, and we're like, "Ooh, probably not." But like Gardner Minshew, I think does add a lot more of the familiarity with the air raid, the type of concepts, the another big armed quarterback to be the backup, right? So like, there's not necessarily a stylist. It's hard to say. It's hard to say this, and I realize before I'm saying it that this is not. I'm not saying that Patrick Mahomes or Gardner Minshew's like Patrick Mahomes. Right? That's not what I'm saying. But stylistically, in terms of like to chuck the ball, that's going to be a less of a drop off than I think it would be for like a Carson Wentz or like a Chad Henne or a Matt Moore, right? So I think that the styles kind of mesh there a little bit better. Running back room is one that I think undoubtedly is better. With last year them just having Isaiah Pacheco, LaMichael Pirine, Deneric Prince. Well, they had Luis Rees-Zammit at the time.
Oh,
So funny. Who's now a wide receiver in Jacksonville, and Keontae Ingram on their roster. Now they have Pacheco, but have re-signed Kareem Hunt. They have brought in Elijah Mitchell. They have Carson Steele and also Keontae Ingram. Still, I think this running back room is way better. And I thought it was interesting. We talked about it on the re-signing of Kareem Hunt. I talked about this with Nate Taylor, that after they re-signed Kareem Hunt, their running back room was already way better than it was at any point than it was last season, because Kareem Hunt didn't come in until after the season has started. Samaje Perine was a post-training camp ad. So they went into the running back room off season last year, barren. This running back room, I think, while I still don't think is very good, it's still leaps and bounds better than last year.
yes. I think the big question with this running back room, as it sits, I mean, obviously, do they add a guy and who and all that stuff?
Sure.
Like, does Isaiah Pacheco come back and play like Isaiah Pacheco? Yeah. Because last year, I mean, I give him all the credit in the world. He came back and from a very serious injury, but like he couldn't run and he just looked terrible. And I think that's kind of coloring a lot of people's thoughts too, is like remembering Pacheco from a year ago. I mean, if you go back and look at the first 2 years the guy had, he averaged 4.9 yards per carry and 4.6. Mm-hmm. And in 2023, in 14 games, ran for 935 yards and had 44 receptions. That's a really good running back. Yeah. So, look, I'm all for adding another guy because this is probably the last year of Pacheco in a Chiefs uniform, right? Like, that's probably the reality.
Yeah.
But if Pacheco goes back to being that guy, and then you have Kareem Hunt behind him, like that's a pretty damn good 1-2 punch. So listen, yes, they're definitely better in this room, which is kind of odd. It's funny that we're going through this. We didn't do this before the show or anything, and like we didn't prep like professionals. I find myself kind of shocked that I actually think all three of those rooms are better, but they are. They are.
Yeah.
Clearly better.
Yeah. It is an interesting exercise to do it, go position by position like we are. The thing that worries me about this running back room is I'm going to make up a word, I guess, injury proneness of all three of these guys.
Durability issues.
There you go. That's the real word I was looking for. Cool. Isaiah Pacheco has missed at multiple games each year of his career. Yes. Kareem Hunt is
47 years old,
for lack of a better term, old. Elijah Mitchell literally hasn't played in like 2 years.
It's not great.
That's not great. Carson Steele can't hold on to a football. That's also not good either. And Keontae Ingram's been on the squad for, I think, forever. I think since the Chiefs were founded in 1969, he's been on the practice squad. But he has not been able to see any playing time. That's what worries me about this room, is that I think there are some, the peaks are good, but I worry about the valleys. That's the biggest thing for running backs with me. And it's such a position of attrition of like, your starter's going to miss games. Like that's just what happens in the NFL. Your starting running back's going to miss a few games a year. So you got to have 2, maybe even 3 more guys that you trust to tote the rock, to carry the ball. I don't know if I'm totally there yet, but like it is a lot better, as you mentioned, than it was last year. Let's move on to tight end real quick because I think it's practically the same room. I haven't actually looked it over. Obviously, Travis Kelsey, Noah Gray, Jared Wiley, Anthony Frisker for this year, Baylor Cubb, Big Bob Tunyon. Last year, looking at the tight ends, Travis Kelsey, Noah Gray, Irv Smith. How could I forget about Irv Smith?
Yeah, this is easy. It's the same room.
Isaiah Gathingson, Garrett Prince.
Yeah, there's no reason to belabor the point. This is the exact same room. It's fine. I mean, it's no,
it's a wash.
Yes, there's no reason to split hairs with this. Well, they didn't have Jared Wiley this time last year. Like, it's the same. It's fine.
Yeah. Now let's finish off the offense here with the offensive line because I think that this is an interesting conversation to have.
Do this.
As of now, the projected starters for your Kansas City Chiefs offensive line for 2025: Jalen Moore at left tackle, Kingsley Suamataia at left guard, Creed Humphrey at center, Trey Smith at right guard, Jawan Taylor at right tackle. Last year at this time, as of April 1st of 2024, your starting left tackle was a projected Wanya Morris. Your left guard was Joe Tooney. Your center was Creed Humphrey. Your right guard was Trey Smith. And your right tackle was Jawan Taylor. Matt, is the offensive line better right now than it was last year?
No, it's worse. They had Jatini last year.
Right.
They don't have Jatini yet. They're worse. They have 40% of their line that is completely unproven, and another 20% that scares the living hell out of you because he is proven. They have two guys on the offensive line you have any confidence in. And the other three, both tackles and the left guard, you have no idea. I shouldn't say it. The right tackle, you know what you're getting. You're getting mostly competent right tackle play with 20 penalties mixed in. Okay? And on the left side of the line, absolutely no clue. Like, could be decent, could be good, could be awful, could be season-ending awful. Like, I've said it on this show, I've said it on my pod, I've said it everywhere, every radio spot I've done. Look, man, those two guys on the left side of that line are going to determine for me how far this team goes. But no, they're worse. You have to say they're worse on the offensive line.
It's really interesting, too, when you look at the offense as a whole, Matt. I want to have the conversation before we take a break. The offense as a whole, how do you feel about it? Do you think that it's better than it was last year? Because, look, we've gone position by position, and we've said every position group is better,
right,
except offensive line. But offensive line's a pretty damn big position to be worse at.
I think they are... I think they're positioned to be much more explosive offensively with Worthy in his second year. Rice and Brown presumably going to be playing more than 5 games between them.
Right.
But I still think this entire question comes down to Jalen Moore and Kingsley Suamataia. Because if those two are road cones, none of this matters. And if they hold up, I think they could score 30 points a game. That's really how I feel. Like, I think offensively, all of it's there for him. But I've watched teams that can't block, and it's just, you can talk about this all you want, but then we spend the whole season being like, well, yeah, Worthy's wide open on a post, but it doesn't matter because Mahomes is running for his life. Like,
yep.
If that left side is anywhere from just solid and up, I think they're going to be a very, very, very good offense. If they're not that, I think Andy will scheme around some of it, but they'll be doing what they've been doing, which is dinking and dunking and wasting another year of Mahomes' prowess because they've got to treat him like he's Daniel Jones because they can't block.
Yeah.
But I think it comes down to those guys. I think the potential's there for a great offense, but it comes down to those two on the line.
For sure. I think it's too early to tell if this offense is going to be better or not just because there's so unknowns. I think that, like, the offensive line is obviously a big deal. Like, I think you are made or broken by your offensive line. And having two just major question marks on the left side of the offensive line makes me hesitate to say this team is better on the offensive side of the ball than it was a year ago. And, like, a year ago, we weren't too confident about the offense. It felt a little bit better about it just because of the Hollywood Brown signing. Nevertheless, he didn't play very much. We have the benefit of hindsight right now on our side. But like we were pretty excited about the offense, but Wanya Morris didn't really work. I mean, I think that's going to sit with Chiefs fans for a little bit, where they're going to have a guy that they're going to put in there, but you're always going to be like, well, remember when Wanya Morris? They thought Wanya Morris was going to work, and he didn't really work out.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see. I do wholeheartedly agree with you. Like those two guys, that left side of that offensive line is really going to determine if this offense is going to be the 2022 offense or the 2024 offense, right? Like there's I don't think there's really an in between, truthfully.
I just like we can sit here and talk about all this stuff, and we will. But to me, it's a left tackle and a left guard. That's it. Like we could sit here and have a conversation about a million other things. It comes down to those guys. Yep. Like those guys have to do their job. And you do wonder, like, if Jalen Moore comes in, he can't do it. He's not good. Like, do they have the guts to sit him down and play somebody else? I mean, I don't know. I don't know, but man, I mean, to me, that's the season, and that's a really uncomfortable thing to face because you got two guys you have no idea, you have no clue. But like, that's it. If those guys stink, man, and it's a freeway, like they're screwed. I mean, I'm not saying they can't go to the playoffs. They'll probably still figure that out. But like, if those guys aren't good, instead of being a 14-3 type of team, you're probably like an 11-6, 12-5 type team. And that's still a really good team, but like that's a team that in the playoffs is going to get beat.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's take a break. On the other side, we're going to talk about the defensive side of the Kansas City Chiefs and ask the question, are they better this year than they were last year? Let's take a break.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Matt, opening day.
Stroke you had going into the break. You get out of it now? You good?
Yeah, I needed the break to process what just happened right before.
We'll be back and talk about some year. I don't know. Chiefs.
Maybe that's how I should throw to every break, is just say like, Chiefs and then break.
Hey, somebody's got to block somebody. Let's go to break.
Yeah. Look, sometimes we're not all firing on all cylinders, and sometimes the Chiefs defense wasn't really firing at all cylinders last year either. But the Chiefs nevertheless decided, for the most part, to run it back with a lot of their defensive free agents that they did have. Let's talk about, I mean, there's only one guy they didn't bring back, which I think is kind of a big one that they didn't bring back. Nevertheless, we'll get there. Let's talk about the defensive end room right now when we got George Karlaftis, Mike Dana, Charles Omenihu, Felix Anudike-Uzomah, Malik Herring, B.J. Thompson right now on the roster with last year's defensive end room. You had George Karlaftis, and you had Charles Omenihu, and you had Malik Herring, and you had Felix Anudike-Uzomah, and you had Truman Jones and B.J. Thompson. This must have been before Mike Dana resigned. Yeah. You can keep Mike Dana in there if you would like, but it's like the tight end room, I believe.
You know what, though? I'm actually going to go a little. I actually think it's better because he's not coming off a torn ACL.
Okay. I'll accept that. Yeah, I'll allow that.
I actually quietly kind of think FAU could be a pretty good player for them if they give him the snaps this year. If you look at his numbers in the limited snaps last year, he actually played really well. Now, granted, before anybody gets it misconstrued, I'm not sitting here saying I think FAU is about to be a Lawrence Taylor. Okay, I don't think that. But do I think if they played him half of the snaps, he could have 6 sacks. Yeah, I think he could do that. And if they do that, like that's a decent play. That's not okay. That's not what you want out of a first round pick in year 3. I'm not like that ship has sailed. But I think they could at least be like, all right, like you're a useful player. So I actually think they're slightly better at the end. I also think there's a world where Karlaftis has like 15 sacks one of these years. But I think right now slightly better because Menahu is not coming off an injury.
I think that's fair. I think that's a fair assessment of the defensive end room. When you talk about defensive tackle, you got Chris Jones this year, Mike Pennell, Marlon Tuipulotu, Jerry Tillery. Last year you were looking at Chris Jones, Derek Nottie, Mike Pennell, Tershawn Wharton. Better or worse than that this year?
Worse. But with a caveat. Because it's worse, but I think they're probably going to take a defensive tackle like in the first round or the second round or something.
That's fair.
It's like, yeah, they're worse, but like kind of temporarily worse. Like they're worse because they lost Wharton and they haven't replaced him.
Right.
But like I think Tillery's better than Nottie, and Jones is Jones and Pennell is Pennell. So like if they draft a decent D tackle, like I would classify Deshaun Wharton as a good player.
Mm-hmm.
If they draft a good defensive tackle, then they're and they might even be slightly better because, like I said earlier, I think Tillery and Pennell play off each other better than Nottie and Pennell. We're basically the same guy. Who knows? I mean, probably not going to happen. What if they draft another defensive tackle like Chris Jones? Yeah. And maybe not even at that level, but they draft a guy who's like, I don't know, like Christian Wilkins. And I get those two guys inside, so it's right now worse, but that probably won't be the case by April 27th.
Right. I do think that's probably the position that the Chiefs are targeting, I would assume, when you just kind of look at it all, and a spot that they really could use some young draft capital, high draft capital in is the defensive tackle position. I think investing there makes all the sense in the world. You already do have a lot of money invested in it with Chris Jones, but having some youthful investment, because for the past 3 years, they've just re-signed Pennell and they've re-signed Nottie, and they've just all right, Chris Jones, Pennell, and Nottie, here we go. Let's do it. And if they are able to inject some youth, some new, I'll say new blood and air quotes into it, I think Jerry Tillery signing is a good new blood signing. We talk about that a lot when comes to the defensive line. They've, for the past few years, have just been like, yeah, let's just re-sign our guys. Let's just keep our guys back. Let's just keep these guys here. I think that's a good injection of new blood into this defensive line room. But yes, they haven't. I don't think Jerry Tillery's the replacement for Tershawn Wharton. I don't think Marlon Tuipulotu is a replacement for Tershawn Wharton.
No.
So in that fact, Tershawn Wharton had a great year last year. He was very productive last year. I do think that this room is worse, but as a whole, as a defensive line, though, Matt, do you think that the whole as a defensive line is worse than it was last year?
No, because I think they're going to get a Menahu for full season. So, no. I was actually rewatching the Chiefs-Bills AFC Championship game the other day because March, I'm like, what the hell else is there to do? I was trying to get over St. John shooting 30% from the field. It sucked.
It's brutal.
And so, oh my God, Jesus! They could have put me out there in the corner. I could have just taken thrown the ball like a rock at the hoop, and hit 30% of the shots. Oh my God! But in any event, do you know in that third down play where they blitzed down that I'm sorry, the fourth down play they blitzed them famously. Kincaid couldn't come up with the ball. Yep. You know who the nose tackle was on that play?
I don't.
Menahu.
Oh.
So it was Menahu who's lined up as the nose tackle on that play. So my point is, they have so much flexibility with Menahu and Dana and Jones. I actually think if Menahu's healthy for the full year, they're better. Plus the maturation of some of the young guys. And again, I'm also factoring in they're going to draft a D tackle early, so there is part of that too. Now, if you want to say you can't factor that in, then I'll say it's even. I'll say I think it's even. You'll lose Wharton, but I think Amena will be in there for the full year, kind of cancel some of that out. So
yeah.
But I think in time with they will be better.
I'm gonna save us some time here. It looks like the linebacker room is the exact same.
Literally, I think.
Yeah.
If it's not, it might as well be. It's the same damn guys.
Yeah, Drew Tranquil, Nick Bolton, Leo Chanel, Cam Jones, Jack Cochran, Cole Christensen.
Great. Awesome.
Same. We're going to move on there. So we don't need a debate on another year older and on the contract Nick Bolton versus last year Nick Bolton.
You don't want to have a debate about Nick Bolton?
I don't have it in me, Matt. I've lost the will to argue about Nick Bolton. I don't care. I don't care about the Nick Bolton conversation anymore.
I also, by the way, as we're recording this, LSU's having a pro day. Oh. And Will Campbell, the left tackle, who is a borderline top 10 pick, he measured at the combine that his arms are like 32 and a half inches, which is T-Rex level stuff for a left tackle. Okay. Today, magically, they measured it at 33.
No way.
And it's causing just a full-on discourse on my timeline as we're doing this show. Like, Field Yates put out the 33-inch arms. Marcus Mosher's losing his mind over it. Like, then Yates doubles down and is like, well, like, it was done by an NFL scout, not an LSU guy. People are like, oh, his arms just magically grew half an inch, huh? I got somebody right now who's just texting me who's like, don't care, 33 inches, not long enough anyway. Like,
yeah, that's the other point.
Like, for the record, every team has different thresholds, okay? And 33 is not awful. Most teams want you, if you're a tackler, to have 34-inch arms.
Right.
Okay. At least a lot of teams. I don't know a lot of teams. So, I certainly have talked to people in the league who say, 33, okay, but like, it's not like 33 is awesome. It's just that 32 is a disaster.
Uh-huh.
So, like, which sounds so funny. Like, we're talking an inch, right? Like, but it matters. It does.
It does very much matter. Arm length, people will go crazy for arm length on both sides of the ball, on both sides.
Hand size for quarterback, Like,
yeah. I do think it's always funny when, like, you always have these Penn State guys run, like, 0.3 faster, and just, like, turns out that they're only running, like, 39.5 yards or something like that.
Yeah, that or, like, like the guy ran, like, a 4.6 at the combine, and then all of a sudden the pro days, like, he ran a 4.18? Like, was he running on one of those airport, like, conveyor belts that helps you walk at like 3 times the normal speed if you can?
Right. Ooh.
Yeah.
I should go to KCI Airport and say, clear out, guys. I want to run and see how fast it takes me to get to one side of it. I don't know how long they are. Do you think the airport people would let me do that? You think if I ask them, they'd be cool with it?
Somebody's going to step up.
Yeah. Okay. For a video, this would be funny. The Chiefs cornerback room. They had Christian Fulton, obviously, this year. They have Trent McDuffie, Jalen Watson. Oh, we forgot to talk about Robert Rochelle. That was supposed to be our 45 minutes. Sorry, Robert. Najee Johnson, Joshua Williams. Him and his half snap that he's going to get. He's not even going to get a full snap. He's going to pull out in the middle of it. Last year, they had Jalen Watson, Echo Boydo, Keith Taylor. Holy cow, what a name. Joshua Williams, Najee Johnson, Kelvin Joseph, obviously Trent McDuffie, Nick Jones as well. I did forget to talk about the nickel corners that they have here with Shamari Connor, Chris Roland Wallace, and Darius Rush this year. But those are more like kind of third safety types. But nevertheless, out of those cornerback rooms, you feel like this cornerback room is better than that last year, correct?
Yes. Because last year's room, I mean, people forget this now. Like, going into camp, people are like, who's cornerback 2?
Yeah.
Like, nobody had any idea the hell it was. And Jalen Watson, to his credit, really stepped up and played fantastic football for them. I mean, I think if there's a strength that wasn't there a year ago, it's this. Like, Christian Fulton's not a great corner, but he's a good corner. He's a good corner. He's a good player. And he plays exactly how they want to play. Right. He is a physical, press, in-your-face boundary corner. And that's what they love. And then they have Watson, who also is a bigger corner who can play on the outside, who obviously has shown he's a very good player. And then McDuffie, who you're going to make a real argument is the best corner in football. You can move inside, you move outside. Look, their corner room is clearly better. I mean, I don't even think there's an argument. I don't want them playing Joshua Williams and Najee Johnson, but like you're 5 deep in terms of guys with experience. So, and you're 3 deep in terms of guys who are really genuinely good players. And in the case of McDuffie, great player. Yeah, no, this is a room to me that last year was a big question mark. This year is a big strength.
I think that's a huge part of this, though, too, is the Christian Fulton signing does a lot more than add a solid cornerback, too. It makes your cornerback, 1, better. It puts him in a position where he can play, and you feel a lot more confident in what he can produce for you in that, slot position, maybe that nickel type position. I do think that Christian Fulton should be better than, Jalen Watson was last year. But Jalen Watson, to your point, Matt, stepped up last year, played some really good football before he got hurt. Like he really did kind of win that job. And kind of didn't really play at all preseason, if I remember correctly. Like the last game, he played the last game and got like torched, and you're like, wow, he's getting torched by the Bears 3rd stringers. What is going on? And then like he was like, oh, now there's real football playing on. I will actually play.
Exactly.
And he played great. Also his credit. So if you have that level of Jalen Watson, right, and you have Christian Fulton playing in a scheme that he's potentially more comfortable in rather than like the Chargers scheme. If you have those guys on the outside and Trent McDuffie being able to do whatever you want to do with Trent McDuffie, like that makes you feel a whole lot better for this defense, especially when you look at this safety room, Matt, and you see they only have Brian Cook and Jaden Hicks and Deion Bush and somebody named Jason Taylor II. And last year they had the same guys, but with Justin Reed. And Jamari Connor was then listed as a safety with they had Trey Dean as well. Shout out Trey Dean. But Deion Bush, Brian Cook, Justin Reed, Jamari Connor were your 4 safeties last year. The safety room, how do you feel about it? Because I know there's some mixed feelings about the safety room for this year compared to last year.
They're worse. Justin Reed was the best safety on the team, and he's gone. So they're definitely worse. I mean, look, I think Jaden Hicks is going to be a very good player for them. And I think the combination of him and Cook with Connor as your 3rd safety, I don't think it's a bad combination, but I think it's worse than it was a year ago. I mean, I think losing Justin Reed is the one guy they lost this year that's going to hurt him.
Yeah.
Everybody else, with all due respect to Wharton and Justin Watson, and they'll be fine.
All right, Noddy.
Dirk Noddy, of course. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Dirk Noddy, whoever the hell else. Who else?
Keith Taylor.
P. Ryan. Yeah, sure. P. Ryan.
Yeah.
They'll be okay. I think Justin Reed's the one guy. Look, I love Hicks. I think he's going to be a stud for him, but I think you're going to miss something with Justin Reed. That guy was a really good player for them. So they're worse at safety.
So that brings the question, Matt. They are worse at, we said, I think 2 positions that they said they're worse at as of now with interior defensive linemen and safety. But do you think this defense is better than it was last year?
Yes, because of the corners. I think that when they had their corners really humming early in the year last year before Watson got hurt, they were great defensively.
Yeah.
And when Amenahu came back, that pass rush took off. You have Amenahu this whole year. You've got 3 really quality corners. Like, I think they're going to miss Justin Reed, but I also think Jaden Hicks helps to soften that blow. I think they're really good defensively. I think, look, man, I think there's a real world here where if they have a good draft, I mean, their left side of the line is going to determine whether they're a contending team that is a really, like I said earlier, like an 11-12 team, like a good team with the ability to put fear in you because of the quarterback, or is just one of these deals where, look, they have a good draft. These left tackle, left combo, or left guard, left tackle, this combination ends up doing it and plays well. I mean, if that's the case, they might be the best team they've been in a long time.
For sure.
Because this is a weird thing to say about a team that's gone to 3 straight Super Bowls. They've kind of been underwhelming the last 2 years. I know how stupid that is to say. Like, I'm aware of it, how dumb that is.
Yeah.
They have been a painful watch the last 2 years offensively. This happened. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
they are brutal to watch offensively the last 2 seasons, or have been brutal to watch. And they won the Super Bowl and lost another one. Like, they've continued to just roll. So, look, I hate that they lost Reed, but I really like Hicks. I think they will survive Wharton. I think they'll just figure it out, plus the draft and all that.
Mhm.
Offensively, I mean, Rice, Brown, Worthy, Kelsey, Gray, Pacheco, Hunt, like, if they can block, they're going to score a lot of points. I didn't even mention Mahomes in that group. Like, they're going to score a lot of points. But, like, can you block? To me, that's it, man. If they block, this team could be ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's like, can you block? And what does the draft class look like? But again, not only do they have a full draft, they've got the Titans 3rd-round pick.
Right.
Like, they have 4 picks in the top 95 selections. They have 3 picks in the top 67. Like, they could be adding real guys to this team in this draft. So it's going to be very interesting.
It will be. And look, we didn't even mention Jared Wiley either. Jared Wiley, the team is very high on Jared Wiley. Like, they love what he brings to the table. He's obviously coming off an ACL injury, so you never know how those guys are going to bounce back. But I know that people I've talked to, like, they very impressed with that kid. Like, another weapon that really could be there for years to come as well. The draft is right around the corner, Matt, as you mentioned. We kind of talked about it last week a little bit. So I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more draft stuff as we get closer to the time, because we'll be doing our 2 shows a week. Anything on your mind you want to talk about before we get out of here, Matt? It doesn't necessarily have to be football related, or if it is football related,
no, I mean, I'm seeing an awful announcing that Jim Nance.
Yeah, I saw that.
Did you read the article?
I didn't read the article. I saw the tweet, but I didn't see the.
He's got his date set for, in his head for retirement, which is the Masters in 2036.
My man,
Jim's not going anywhere.
Let's go, Jim.
Jim's not going anywhere. Damn it! He says, that he's circling that date because it would be the 100th Masters tournament. It would also be the 50th anniversary of his first broadcast there.
Wow.
That's right. By the way, if you're wondering how old Jim Nance is, he's 65. He turned 66 in May. So
he's been on air more years than he's not. Well, obviously, that's how that math works.
It's not nothing. That is not nothing. He joined CBS in 1985. So
wow,
that's right.
He doesn't look. Jim doesn't look that old.
It's not like that old. No, Jim's he's plugging away, man. I'm reading his Wikipedia page because that's what you do when you're a professional.
Yeah, I love it.
And I'm reading, at least according to Wikipedia, which this is sourced out, that this is linked out to a piece from USA Today. So it's legit. Nance opens each of his broadcasts by saying, "Hello, friends." The greeting came about as a way for Nance to identify himself to his father, who had been suffering from Alzheimer's disease. I never knew that.
Huh.
It's pretty cool. Sad, obviously, but it's a cool little, I did not know that. Okay.
Me either. Yeah, I love Jim Nance. He's one of the most iconic voices, I think, in all of sports. Him and Kevin Harlan. I love hearing Kevin Harlan's voice, especially when there's like March Madness games on. I will go out of my way to watch a game that has Kevin Harlan on it. I don't even care about the teams. I just want to hear Kevin Harlan.
Yeah, he's with Stan Van. It's great.
Oh.
Yeah, it's great. How Kevin Harlan's never ascended to the top job, I've never really understood.
Yeah.
Like, nothing against Jim Nance, obviously deserves a top job too, but I'm just saying, like, in terms of like, now Kevin Harlan has in the radio area, he does Super Bowl and all that stuff.
Yes.
One of my favorite, and probably my favorite memory of a broadcaster, was when the Chiefs were beating the Chargers and the Dolphins were beating the Patriots, and Kevin Harlan decided to call both games simultaneously. Mm-hmm. That was so cool when he was doing that. And I remember the next day, like, the FCC, the president of the FCC is a Chiefs fan. And he tweeted out, he's like, no FCC violation here. Go Chiefs. It was awesome.
That's so funny. I didn't know that wrinkle of it. That's crazy.
Yeah, because it was a total SEC violation. He was like broadcasting 2 games at once. Like, can't do that. Like, like it was. Yeah, because he even says it, I think, on air at one point. He's like, I'm breaking every rule in the book or something. And he definitely was.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, the FCC president is a Chiefs fan. And it was like, it's cool, no violation. It's
awesome. I'm reading now Kevin Harlan's Wikipedia page because we are professionals here and we just read Wikipedia pages here. For
how old is Kevin Harlan? 60?
64. Sorry, it took me a minute to find it. I was like, where in the world is it? So it's very interesting that, he was obviously the Chiefs play-by-play voice before Mitch Holthus. 85 to 93.
That man hell.
Oh, God, some awful teams. Awful teams he got to see. But I was born in 1998, so I know him more for basketball than for football. And so, when I think of Kevin Harlan, I think of basketball, NBA, March Madness. That's what I think of with Kevin Harlan. I don't necessarily think of football.
That's fair. I mean, I don't really think of him for one specific thing. I just think about him just in general, honestly.
Like Gus Johnson. I think of Gus Johnson for football. Like Gus Johnson when he says...
I think Gus Johnson in college football.
Yes, college. I know he did a stint in the NFL for a little bit.
But he to me is college football.
Yeah, like when he said, you got chicken back there and then didn't invite me. So funny. Anything he
treasure. Let's close it on this bad. But if you had to pick one broadcaster to call a game that you've gotten to listen to, like not somebody from the 50s, like who's your guy or gal? Who would you pick?
Wow, that's a really Jim Nance is up there. Just the Nance voice. But man, I do love the energy that Gus Johnson brings. And honestly, this isn't going to be a popular take. I really like Joe Buck.
So do I.
I think Joe Buck is very good.
Fans just like to hate guys because they're always against my team. I promise he doesn't care. He wants to collect millions of dollars. He doesn't care about your stupid thing.
I think Joe Buck is very good. It's probably going to be Nance. Not Nance and Romo though. What if you can't really put 2 play-by-play guys together? Like Nance and Gus Johnson would be an insane booth, right?
Nance trying to call the play and just down the sideline and just screaming.
Actually, you know what? I'm putting Nance and Gus Johnson together. I think that's what I would want. Because I think Gus could do a good job. No, I'm talking like I know these people. I don't know them. I feel like he could do a good job of being a color guy, right? He already adds a lot of color as it is in his play-by-play. I think he could seamlessly transition into the providing color role into the broadcast. So I'm gonna bend the rules and do 2 play-by-play guys. I think it is Nance and Gus Johnson.
Okay, I will stick with a group that was together at the time, and you probably weren't even born yet. Dick Enberg is my favorite play-by-play announcer ever. So yeah, I will go with him, and I'll stick him with his partner Bob Trumpy, who I've gotten an interview with over the years, and super nice guy. But yeah, I would say those 2. Enberg could call any sport. The guy called basketball on NBC and NBC. He called baseball. He called football, a bunch of Super Bowls. Called Wimbledon. Called tennis.
Wow.
I mean, anything you can think of, he called it. Like the guy, just unbelievable. Unbelievable. I loved listening to Dick Enberg. So I'll say, although I will tell you, if the only caveat, if it is a hockey game, it is Doc Emmerich.
Yeah, it's got to be Doc. Yeah.
I am so fortunate, man. Like I wanted to be a broadcaster when I went to college. That's what I went to school for.
Yeah.
And I grew up listening to Marv Albert call the Knicks and Doc Emmerich call the Devils. So those are my local announcers, were those 2 guys. And it was just, even as a kid, you're like, man, we're really lucky. Mike Breen was doing Knicks games, still does Knicks games, with Clyde Frazier.
Yeah.
Who to this day is my favorite color guy of all time. He's just, when the Knicks sucked, he was the only reason to watch the games. Because he would make so much fun of them on their own network.
Yeah.
Oh, it was great. It was great. I'll never forget one time they were playing the Milwaukee Bucks, and both teams were awful. I was in high school. It's probably 05, 06.
Yeah.
Knicks foul guy, Irvin Johnson, right? He's going on the line. This is not Magic Johnson. This is Irvin Johnson. Played with the Bucks. Steps to the line and bricks a free throw. And there's dead air, right? Nobody's saying this game's awful. And Clyde Frazier just goes, Irvin Johnson. There's no magic in his game. It was the way he delivered it. I thought Breen was going to have a heart attack on air. And he would do stuff like that all the time. And like the Knicks players, honestly, more often, he ripped Steve Francis every single time he's on the court. Oh my God, make fun of him. There was a guy, I forget who it was, from the Celtics since the shot once. He's like, that guy laid enough bricks today, you could have a 2,000 square foot house with a garage. Like, just actively hated all the players on the team because they sucked, but loved the sport so much he couldn't give it up. Right. And now he's in heaven because they're actually good and he can call a real basketball team. But yes, if it's hockey, it's Doc Emrick. He is of anybody. He's my favorite guy ever. But Enberg, because of the coverage that he had, it would be my choice to call just about any game.
I think that's strong. I do love a Mike Breen bang, a good Mike Breen bang hits. Oh,
the double bang is a
bang.
Yeah. Last time I remember him giving a double bang in the Knicks was when DiVincenzo beat the Sixers in that crazy end of a playoff game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, look, man. Like I said, it's great. Like I grew up so incredibly privileged. Like I had Marv Albert. The Knicks were always on the NBA and NBC. So you got Enberg and Costas, and it was
right.
Costas was great too. But now it's kind of past his prime.
Yeah.
But Costas was. Whenever I think about Costas, I think of the Olympics.
Yes, 100%.
I also think Keith Jackson of football, college football.
Mm-hmm.
I think of him calling the Rose Bowl between Texas and USC.
Yep, that's a great game.
Yeah,
that's gonna age me, right? And when I say this, but that's the first college football game that I can really remember watching and being like, oh shit, this is awesome.
Yeah, I was a senior in high school, but
sorry.
I mean, that game. I got to tell you, in my life watching football, the only game, pro or college, I ever saw that I thought was better than that game was the 13 seconds game.
Yeah. That Rose Bowl game was legit, man. That was
it was unbelievable.
An incredible football game. 13 seconds was also incredible.
You know who the running back was for Texas in that game?
Oh, gosh. Was that 05?
It was a 06 Rose Bowl 5 season, yeah.
Is it Jamal?
Yeah. And Jamal Charles was the running back in that game. Reggie Bush was on the other side.
Oof.
Turns out Reggie Bush, chump, comparatively.
Right. NFL career-wise, yeah.
Who knew that Texas had the better back that game? No, Reggie in college was outrageous.
Oh, my gosh.
I remember giving against Fresno State, he ran for about 500 yards. It was like a video game on easy. No, look, man, it was that game was amazing. But yeah, to me, the best football game I've ever seen was the 13 seconds game. I can remember watching that game. I was on the phone with my dad, and I said to him at one point, I think it was actually, I'll tell you what it was. I'll tell you right when it was. It was before the 2-minute warning. And I was like, this is one of the greatest games I've ever seen. I don't know who's going to win this game, but this game's unbelievable. That was before the 2-minute warning of that game, which then included a touchdown to Gabe Davis, the whatever it was, 70-yard touchdown pass to Hill,
right?
The other touchdown pass to Gabe Davis, the Chiefs getting in the actual 13 seconds in the 13 seconds game, kick the field goal, and then winning in overtime.
Right.
Before all that, I was saying to my dad during the commercial, my man, this is one of the greatest games I've ever seen. And then that all took place. I mean, that game was...
it was nuts.
That game was unbelievable. Even if the Chiefs had lost, I'd have the same opinion. I mean, that game was truly amazing. And I was offered a ticket to that game. I turned it down.
Oh. But then you have to think about the butterfly effect. If you do accept a ticket, does that even happen?
Also, look, I have a tradition. I talk to my dad on the phone during these games.
Right.
And that's why I turned the ticket down, because I was like, it's a playoff game. I can't not, the only time I'll talk to them on the phone is if I have to cover it for SI.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have to be able to be on the phone with them during this game. Like, it's still important. And I never regret it. Like, I to this day, I don't have any regrets. But yeah,
Right.
that game was. I remember having to go on a podcast right after that and try to break down what happened.
Yeah.
And dude, it is the worst hour of analysis you'll ever watch. I don't know what the fuck just happened. They won.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no words for what just took place. Yeah, good time.
Chris, that was a divisional game too.
Yeah, I mean, it was. Yeah, you look back and you're like,
It wasn't even like a AFC Championship game or a Super Bowl. Just a divisional round game.
they've won a Super Bowl in walk-off fashion in overtime, and somehow it's not the best game of their dynasty.
Right. Right.
You're like, yeah, no, it's like third, it's second, whatever. Yeah, it's crazy.
All right, that's gonna do it for that football show. We'll be back on Saturday and talking about something and power ranking something else too.
How much? Who we hate the most in our family?
I'm not doing that. I'm opting out.
I'll give it as a bonus power ranking.
It'll be Matt's bonus power ranking at the end. I'm opting out of that one.
Yeah, if you want to send a hateful note.
That's going to do it for that football show. We'll talk to you guys later in the week, I guess. I don't know. Who knows?